right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I'm David Huff, CPA here with DW Huff Consulting, and here we are today, March 31st, 2023, with the latest edition of News from the Front Lines of Business. So here we are again, tax season well upon us, and we're things are moving along pretty smooth, I would say, as far as processing goes. But as is usual for the end of March, it's very, very busy. So anyway, but we did have some discussions this week that I find would be useful to you, because as we're doing tax returns, a lot of documents cross our desk with various income sources. So we know if you have brokerage and investment statements, and we try to emphasize here building up passive income, right? So we talk about investments that generate dividends usually. And we like to do that. That's our preference, right? So, but on this one conversation, we talk a little bit about dividend yield. All right. So, what dividend yield is? It's a measure. If you look at any kind of stock analysis, so if you look at doing a little research on a different stock, you're going to see different things with the price to earnings ratio, etc. But dividend yield is a number you'll see prominently displayed, and it's expressed as it's a percentage basically. So they look at the dividend divided by the stock price, and that's the percentage yield. So if you were looking at a stock that had a $100 stock price and it paid a $5 dividend, $5 is 5% of 100, so that dividend yield would be expressed as 5%. All right. So what this client noted is that I was looking at all these different investment options. Most of them are 3-4%, let's say. So in order to generate $40,000 of passive income, which is what we really would like to do, I'm going to need $1 million. At a 4% yield, it's going to take a lot of money to do that. So I just want to point out that the dividend yield, when you're looking at a stock, data information page, that's as of the price right now. If you held that stock for a long period of time, your dividend yield might be a lot higher, because the stock price in that example we talked about with the $100 stock price, if you bought that 20 years ago, you might only pay $10 or $20 for it. So now that 5% is more like 25% yield, right? So it could be much higher as expressed as a percentage. So just be careful of that. So note that your dividend yield will be much higher than the actual dividend yield that shows on a page when you're analyzing something. But to illustrate, take this a little step further. So we took a few commonly traded, well-known stocks here. So ExxonMobil, Walgreens, and 3M. I created a portfolio with just a fictitious $1,000 starting investment, and we're going to show it two different ways. Now, at the end, I have a chart that summarizes a little bit better, so we're going to use that as the thing. But here's what it looks like if you invested this going back to 1990 is the starting date in this. So 1990, you put $1,000 in each one of these three stocks, and you have this final balance here of $87.93 for Exxon, $12,160 for Walgreens, and $5,400 for 3M, which is a consumer staple company. And here's how the dividends would have grown over that period of time. So not a whole lot here, but as these companies grow, increase their prices, they increase their payouts, these dividends go up with time as well. So that initial $1,000 investment is showing off a lot more money. So expressed as a percentage, that dividend yield is much higher than you may initially think. This is another half of the example where we show what happens if, instead of taking the dividends out every quarter from 1990, you reinvested those in the same stock, so you got some more shares and you let it build up for a while. Substantially higher ending values here. 26,000 and change for Exxon, 21 and change for Walgreens, and 14 grand for 3M. So letting the money ride in the market is good, and of course the income goes up by a corresponding amount in that too, because you got a higher number of shares. But here's kind of how it all kind of plays out in comparison. So with no reinvestment, that's in my first column here, those are my ending balances in those three stocks. $1,000 put in January 1st of 1990 gets you these amounts, right? If you reinvested the dividends, we see it's substantially higher. And what I want to focus more on here is the income component there. So in the example where we did not reinvest anything, ExxonMobil, your investment there, that $1,000 will now be throwing off $275 a year. Walgreens at $650 and 3M at $280. So letting it ride for a while would still get you a decent annual income, if you didn't reinvest it. But look at how different it looks when you reinvest the dividends. Now your annual dividend in ExxonMobil is $780. So you have a $1,000 investment that's throwing off $780 a year of earnings. And keep in mind, you still got the stock portfolio. So we know the stock prices move up and down based on whatever's going on, but you're getting close to what you initially invested to go around as an annual income amount going forward, and you still got the stock there to work with. So Walgreens is similar. I was kind of surprised to see how large that income amount had increased. So my $1,000 investment is now throwing off $1,100 a year. So Walgreens is a pretty good it's a pharmacy and some other convenience store kind of goods, but pretty notable. So now you got more money than you put in every year coming back to his income, and so you got $21,000 of capital there in that example. So that's would seem like a good investment, right? And then 3M, they've been kind of a little bit slower on the growth side of things, but still $14,000 here of income you should reinvest in the dividends, and still your $1,000 is throwing off $745 a year. And we think that those companies are pretty stable. They're big, they blue chip companies that have been around for a while. So so we're not telling you to look at these specifically. It's more of a for information purposes here. We can see that letting it ride, reinvest in dividends, and let it grow can be a substantial chunk of money, and nowhere near 4%. So these numbers here are 70-ish%, basically 80%, 100, over 100%. So if we were looking at it on a dividend yield as a percentage based on the that normal way of looking at it, that's based on what you paid. It's a lot more money. So and I guess another reason why I mentioned that is some people have talked about legacy planning and leaving money down to the next generation. Well, think about any one of these three examples. So if you bought that stock a long time ago, let it ride until you needed it for retirement. Then as you get older, we like to not touch principal if we can. But if you had Social Security and some other things going on, and maybe you put in a little bit more than $1,000, I would hope that we over time would have invested a lot more than that. These dividend income payouts would be substantially higher, right? So we could supplement whatever other income we got from pensions or whatever, or possibly make this a source of retirement income by itself. So with some reinvesting and making good decisions, obviously. So, but now when you don't need that money anymore, whatever is not tapped into on that principal balance now can be left to your heirs in a will, could be left to them via trust document. There's all kind of ways to leave that money to somebody else and let the income continue. So if that income continues to grow like we expect, because inflation is always going up, these companies are always raising prices, and they're raising prices, and they're always growing, and these managers have a vested interest in growing that stock price. So because they get stock options and things like that, so they're kind of on the same side of the table as you. They're trying to make these things grow. So you could have tapped into it for a while, then could have left that to some future generation to supplement their income as well. So so for your forever portfolios, there's talk to us about specifics, but there's some funds out there that accomplish the same thing, so you don't have to get involved in individual stock picking. And there's ways to do it that are pretty easy to understand and low cost options with any of the brokerage firms that we talk about regularly. So that's all I got for this week. This has been a crazy hectic tax week, and that's all I really got. But for my closing thought for the day here, because believe it or not, I do spend time to read a little bit during the week, and one of these quotes that I saw that popped up that kind of struck a chord with me is, "Give thyself time to learn something new and good, and cease to be whirled around." So this is business related basically, but one of the books I read recently had some. It is another attorney who's also a financial advisor, investment, and tax planner like myself. But he had kind of went into some detail of how early on in his career he utilized certain tactics with the trust and the things that he does. But as time had gone on, he learned a better way of doing things. So, he's not saying he was wrong back then. He's saying that, as he's evolved, he's learned different ways to do things, and I think I'm doing that as well. And I think we all should, and don't be afraid to, I guess, look dumb for a minute and admit that you didn't have it right the first time, and you learn something new because you're older and more experienced, and that's it. So anyway, have a good weekend, and we'll see you back out here next week.